Good afternoon. So very quickly to review, this assignment, your first one this semester, called Other Worldly, has to have 3 imaginary plant-like elements and 2 critters or animal elements here tucked away in the background. Why in the background? To make good use of that available space. By layering, by putting one thing in front of another, in this case the plant in front of the shark, or these 2 plants in front of the little goldfish. By overlapping, you create greater depth in the picture. Another layer of space going back and greater depth. Your job is to create the illusion of depth or space, okay? So here I have my 3 plants, my 2 critters, and I'm done. Notice that I've used shading as much as possible. I've done a lot of blending, although you do not have to. I encourage it. It's just something you don't have to do. This will be worth 50 points. No concept drawing for this one, but let me show you how to get started in case you're having trouble. First of all, I've put my paper down in front of me vertically. I guess I could have drawn horizontally like this, but I decided vertical was best for me. And you see I've started with 1, 2, 3 lines running up and down the length of the paper or the height of the paper vertically. Now, you can see I have a portion of this plant over here on the left side already finished, or nearly so. One of the critters is already included, but not yet fully shaded. Let me show you how I'm going to finish this up. Maybe not the entire piece, but a good portion. First of all, I'm going to come off these outside edges or points and drop down a vertical line. And that completes this ribbon-like plant that I've drawn. I'm going to do the same here on the other plants. Go out to these outside corners, left and right, and bring a vertical element down, verticals up and down, until it stops when it hits another portion of the plant right there. Or this case can go all the way down if you wish, maybe all the way down, maybe all the way down. Here, stops at that portion of plant and stops. Oh, can't forget this one. So this is more like a folded piece of paper. This one on the far left, more like a ribbon of fabric. This one in the middle, more like a folded piece of paper with its very crisp folds. Now this one over here on the far right might be a little tricky. Let's see what's going to happen. And I can use straight elements, or I can curve them. Let's try a few curves. Let's see how those curves work out. Curving. I can go all the way down to the bottom. Curving. 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 It looks like this goes off the page, this plant, over here on the right side, so you don't actually see much on this side at all. But it's pretty cool the way this is coming together as a 3-dimensional solid over here on the right side. Now, taking my pencil, I'm ready for some color work. This is the same color I used before. Turning your paper to make it easier for your right hand, if you're right hand dominant, to place the color, you lay the color down lightly and evenly. And you turn the paper in a way that allows you greater freedom to maneuver into and around the inside of these forms. I can cross my mark lightly, going in the opposite direction. That smooths it out. Also gives me a chance to see if I can catch any other missing edges or corners. So that is steps 1, 2, and 3, using color. Pick the color, decide where it goes, lay it down lightly, fit it tightly to your edges. Now, you can shade like I've done using the very same color if it's dark enough. If it's yellow, you might have to mix something darker with it. The idea is to increase, or create rather, areas of contrast, increasing the contrast if necessary. So here I have a dark next to a light, a dark next to a light. Here I have a dark next to a light. Here I have a light next to a light, so I need to do something about that. Previously, all I did was to create and intensify the contrast, make it greater, add my darker value. Now you know you have a light value, dark value, and you just are missing your middle values that go in between. So that's what I'm going to add right now. Turning the paper to make it easier to get in here, I might push in towards the center, going lighter and lighter as I push in farther. Dark to light, dark to light. Turning the paper again to make it easier for the placement of my pencil in my right hand. Dark to light, dark to light. Not so much pressure right now. Being careful to maintain or leave this large area here white or light. I can even go back in here, that edge just a tiny bit, not much. Give it a little bit of shading, not much. And that little bit of shading suggests that there's a slight turn to the surface there, okay? It wraps around, in other words. So I'd continue that here, same system. Find your dark after you found your light. Find your dark after you found your light. You've got to maintain contrast, dark next to light, for this to work so you can see your edges. If you don't have contrast, you won't have edges. Go ahead, moving dark to light, maneuvering the paper as you see you need to, as you feel you need to. Holding down on the paper so it doesn't slip. Eyes on your work, okay? Judgment all the way along. Is it good? Is it as good as it could be? Examining every small area. Almost done. And you can see I can approach these others in a similar way. Here's my light, here's my dark. Moving from light to dark with my middle values in mind. Dark to light, dark to light, dark to light. Leaving plenty of lightness there as part of your full round value range. Little bit at a time, build the surface, judge as you go, make sure it's reading just the way it should. Good time to blend colors if you wish. Push it a little bit farther with some more middle values. Smoothing out, smoothing out. Looks pretty good. Still need to handle this down here. Could be, I'll put some dark there, some dark there. Don't want to put dark here because I want that to stay light. Light next to dark gives me that line. Put dark next to dark, you lose the line, you lose the contrast, you lose the sense of form, okay? Here, light to dark to light. Going back as needed. Here, dark to light to dark. Just a little bit, pushing in from this side now. And that one plant is pretty much complete, okay? And I do the same with all the others, picking favorite colors at first, laying them down light and even. Now, I'm not going to be able to finish much of this. You can see how light and even can cross all those lines in the middle. You can kind of ignore all the details in the middle. Turning the paper every which way. You're welcome to switch out your colors at any time for any reason, but you are and have to be aware of where the darker values will fall and how the dark and middle values will work together with the lights to make these surfaces more 3D. So this still needs to be finished. Each of the three plants have to be fully shaded. I am still missing one critter, one animal, and both need to be completed. This one up top is not. I'm going to switch colors out of curiosity here, out of experimentation. Let's add some of these greens in here now. Good time to blend colors is when the colors have been laid down lightly. I'll transition to a green there, maybe a little bit green here, maybe a little bit of green here. So that shifting color as well as shifting values provides visual interest for the viewer. While the green is in my hand, I might come over here, add it to this fish, which has some reds and purples in it. Adding green is like adding yellow. Green has yellow in it. Yellow will neutralize. It will create a darker gray when it hits the reds and blues. And that darker color, that grayish color, is a useful color for shading. You can see it there starting to show up. I can flip around and grab my red again. I don't want that little fin to get lost. That red mixed with that green beneath it, the green that I just added, will also neutralize to make a gray or a brown. Those are interesting colors to be working with. You can see there's a shifting value across the surface of the fish. Not much, but it's enough to make the fish look round, okay? You'll continue on using light and dark to create senses of form across these surfaces. Have 2 critters, your 3 plants, and you will be done. It may or may not look like this. You do not have to use marker at all, ever. Well, I shouldn't say never. But in this case, you do not need to use marker. You may use as much or as little marker as you like for outlining purposes. You can see here I used a very skinny marker. Here I used a much fatter marker. It is not necessary to use it at all if you don't want to, but you may find that marker can be useful in combination with other tools. Okay? Now you try.